Welcome to my journey through the Bible. This will be a summary of 2 Kings chapter 2, verses 1 through 25. And the Lord was going to take Elijah up in a whirlwind. Elijah went to Elijah and they went from Gilgal. And Elijah had asked Elijah to stay back, I pray, while the Lord sends me to Bethel. And Elijah said, as long as the Lord lives and as long as you live, I will not leave you. And so they both journeyed to Bethel. And there were prophets there that told Elijah, do you know that the Lord will take up your master today? And Elijah said, I know, hold your peace. And then Elijah had came to Elijah and said, stay here, I pray, as the Lord sends me to Jericho. And Elijah said, I will not leave you as long as the Lord and you both live. And so then they traveled on to Jericho. And the sons of the prophets there had said, do you know that the Lord will call up your master today? And Elijah said, I know, hold your peace. And then Elijah had said, stay here, I pray, while the Lord sends me over to Jordan. And Elijah said, as long as the Lord lives and as long as you live, I will not leave you. And there were about 50 sons of the prophets that went and stood afar off. And Elijah took his mandolin, wrapped it up together, and then hit the water. And the water dried up, that the two of them were able to walk across on dry land. Now it came to pass that it was time for Elijah to go. And Elijah asked Elijah, what is it that I can do for you before I leave? And Elijah said, I pray that you would give me a double portion of the spirit that you have. And Elijah said, that is a very hard thing that you ask for. But if you see me go up, then you will be given a double portion. But if you do not see me go up, then it will not be so. And then as they walked and talked, then behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and a horse of fire that came down and departed the two. And Elijah went up in the whirlwind into the heavens. And Elijah had saw it and had cried out, my father, the chariots of Israel and the horsemen thereof. And he saw them no more, but took hold of his cloak or his clothes and ripped it. And Elijah had picked up the mandolin of Elijah that had fell from him, and he went back and stood by the Jordan. And Elijah took the mandolin and hit the water and said, where is the God of Elijah? And when he hit the water divided, and Elijah was able to walk across on dry land. Now, the sons of the prophet had seen everything that had happened and said, there is no doubt that he was given the spirit of Elijah. And then they went to him and said, let us go and look for Elijah, for the Lord maybe has put him on top of a mountain or in the valley. And Elijah said, do not go. But the prophets of the men continued to wear him down. And finally, Elijah said, go. And after 3 days, the prophet of the men had came back to Elijah and said, we have not found where the Lord has put Elijah. And Elijah had said, I told you not to go. And then it wasn't very long before some men came to Elijah and said, the city is pleading because our water is nasty and the ground is bare. And Elijah had told him to bring him a vessel of salt. And when they brought it to him, he placed it inside of the spring waters. and the waters were healed and would not be dead or bare any longer. And this was done by the words of Elijah. And then Elijah went back to Bethel, and there were some children that were mocking him and said, "Go up, you bald-headed, go up, you bald-headed." And Elijah had cursed them in the name of the Lord. And two female bears had came out and tore the children apart. There was 42 children that day. And then Elijah went up to the mountain and then to Samaria. May God be with you in everything and every way.